Sunday, send a text. I'm gonna buy your software on Sunday, I swear. Sunday, send a text. Monday, I need some time to think this over. You need professional counseling, is what you need. And you just wasted my time. Sounds like my chain needs yanking. Chris, while I cannot share personal, intimate details, the likes of which may gross some of you out, I'm just going to say all good in that department. This dog is sufficiently fed. And in an above average mood, the likes of which I hope you guys will benefit for, and you ladies will benefit for. Good morning, Tracy. I am recording today's session. Alex, you have a great day. I'll be sure to be extra ingenious this morning so that you are deeply enlightened upon your arrival. Hey, just before I forget, there's a 30-minute Canaveral on CL right now. I wonder what the deal is. Actually, it's not a Canaveral, is it? No, it's just a pattern 5-4. That's what I meant to say. Wow, that's not a good sign, Tracy. I'm screwing up already. But I am just going to put it out there. There's a pretty low risk trade. 77.75 would be the low we don't want to break. So 84 to 75 right now. A lot of times when you see a pattern 4 next to a green dot like that, especially in the context of an up move, there will be an acceleration up. However, boy, there's a lot of resistance overhead, isn't there? Green dot, red dot. All right, I will say that aggressively, but when we get into the daily analysis of CL, we actually have a defined range right here. And on both sides of the range, there are pattern 5s, pattern 2s, pattern 4s, pattern 4s, and there was almost a pattern 1 right here. So if you'll just indulge me 1 second. Sometimes you see something right away when you open up a chart. Okay. Just want to check. That's more like it. Just want to check something or I'll calm down. I'm just teasing. Hey, that looks pretty spanky, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Just for poops and giggles. Good morning. Let's try it from the serious approach. I'm I'm super excited that you're here. We have a mixture of new customers and advanced customers, and I'll try to cover something for everybody here today. We got a big day today. I'm actually confessedly a little nervous about today because of our webinar event at 12 o'clock. So just advance notice that I may need to finish a little early today, say around 11-ish, and get those workspaces up and ready for you to see. I'm also nervous because my best friend is home looking at signals right now. We're not sure what we got with one thing that we've developed for you, and I'm hesitantly optimistic this morning that we maybe invented a microwave propulsion generator and we don't know how it works, but it's still working. So I'm still holding out hope, big guy. And I'm curious to see what he tells me, because I can't run it and this at the same time. I am trapped. So I've got that going on. My kids are home from school, so it's take your kid to work season for me. Take your kids to work month. And it's cool as long as I'm up here, but sometimes, I want to run down to the restroom, and there's a bunch of kids I got to get through and give hugs and kisses, and Daddy just wants to get to that room at the end of the hall and do something that nobody's going to like. But I'm super stoked to have them home, and starting to feel like vacation. Starting to feel a little like summer vacation. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hope everyone else is well. Usually when we get together, we follow a pretty defined path. Now that I'm done jabber-jawing, Earl, one of my children, would like to learn how the Flux works. And he has asked if he can come to webinars. And he has expressed an interest in learning how to do what I do. And so now it's one of those situations, Earl, do I let him have what he wants? Or do I steer him away from a lifetime of searching for patterns? Of the 3 kids, I actually think he's best suited for it. So I don't know. I have quite the conundrum. But we'll see. As is customary, I want to show you some capabilities, some techniques. Repetition is the key to proficiency. Chris, honestly, I feel like if anyone had the firmware to do this, it's him. I don't really, truth be told, having met all of you guys, all of you ladies, I've learned something about myself and about other people that I know. It takes a very distinct personality type. And some of you are fearless and energized by the markets. There's a good teaching moment. Ready? There's sort of two schools of personality types. And we've done a lot of research into this. And so there are people, this is a great chance for you to vote. I wish I could create a poll right now. School number 1, the traders feel energized by the markets. In school number 2, traders feel drained by the markets. School number 1, trading is intuitive. People feel like they're almost free-falling in the market. In second school, everything is mechanical. In the first school, there's almost a me versus them sense of achievement. I'm going to win and you're going to lose. And school number 2 feels like, oh my God. And school number 1, it feels like more of a sport to you. And school number 2 feels like more of a job. See, Earl is like, I could do this all day long. Earl, I would guess, based off of what you just told me, the people in school number 1 tend to say certain things. Ready? People in school number 1 tend to say things like the following. And Ron, confirm or deny this for me if you're listening along over there. I can lose $2,000 or $3,000, and it doesn't bother me because I know I can make it right back. School number 1 people say that. I can lose a few $1,000s. Doesn't bother me. I know I can make it back. All right. What did Schmigagel say? Ron's like, yep. And so I know those people when I meet them. And my job as a trainer is easy. I got one guy in Atlanta right now, and he bought the software. He used to be a real estate agent, and on par, he makes $5,000 to $8,000 a day. And he's mad that he doesn't make more, but he doesn't want to increase his contracts. He trades 4 to 6 contracts, makes $5,000 to $8,000 a day with the Flux. Okay. The overwhelming majority of people are school number 2. Nathan, I am an ENFP. That is my Myers-Briggs personality type. It's good news for you. You're an INTJ, then you are at the top of your potential to become a trader. You want to see the screen grab for me, Nathan? Look at what an ENFP is supposed to be able to do. What am I doing right now? This was when I became a firm believer. No, INTJs are drawn to ENFPs. You're drawn to me because I'm crazy and you'd love to be. We've learned a lot about that, much to my detriment. If you want to read a little bit more about my personality, by the way, go ahead and click on the link in the chat box. If you'd like to take the test, then I would encourage you to do so. And if you wouldn't mind, email Ron or I the results, because we can actually tell you what your odds of being a successful trader are and where you need to do some work. So anyone who's not Nathan, there are two personality types, an INTJ and an ENTJ. And the overwhelming majority of them, 80+% of those customers, report being net profitable. When we survey the customers and ask who's doing what. Because you are analytical, you are Spock-like in your decision-making process, and you just see the math and you follow a plan. INTJs historically will have a life plan 30 years into the future. So Nathan, psychologists tell us that people like you, when they're in college or high school, know what job they want, they know what kind of house they want, they know what kind of salary they want to make, they know what kind of car they want to drive, they know what schools they want their kids to go to, and they move progressively forward through their plan. You all are freaks to someone like me. The rest of us who aren't Earl or Nathan, you have to move through the 4 phases of learning. You have the unconscious incompetence phase. Go ahead and I'll shrink this up so you can see it better. And I'm actually going to do a YouTube series on this. I thought about it yesterday. Then you have the conscious competence phase, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then the unconscious competence. Chris Foster, you are unconsciously competent. Ernie Vroom, you are unconsciously competent. Nell Diaz and Tracy, you are unconsciously competent. When you arrive at that phase and someone says, why did you take that trade? Your answer is, I just knew it was going up. Anybody besides those people that I mentioned feel like they know that? It's obvious. Can't you see it? Okay. The majority of people that are still in our webinars, though, Tracy, are somewhere in here. And somewhere in here. No, it's cool. So it takes some of us longer because of what we inherited in terms of traits from our parents, from our surroundings, from our life lessons. Some of us go sort of straight to this part, and we're all jealous of you. And some of us spend an inordinate amount of time here. And the key to here is a mechanical, we'll use the word mechanical, approach to trading. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the futures charts when we get there today. In fact, I think we're going to spend more time over there than we will on the daily charts today, because I think that's where a lot of us need to do some work. So for those of you who are with me in school number 2, according to the Briggs-Myers results and all of the surveys that we've given customers over the years, my personality type, Nathan, I shouldn't be able to do what I do at all. Meaning it's taken me almost 10 years to exorcise some of my demons. And I am almost neck and neck with some of you now in the phase in the second school. Does that make any sense? I can see the patterns. I see patterns that some of you look at me with cross eyes and say, where did he find that stuff? I can see things where, like on crude, I showed you, I literally drew these 3 lines last week and said, crude's going up. Right. George, I agree with that. However, there's an emotional disconnect because in my personality type, I have a component called F, which is feeling. And I feel the trade, Nathan, viscerally. It is a physical, tangible, nightmarish, instantaneously stressful commitment. I get married over and over and over again when trades come up. Where you or Tracy or Earl, it's just a trade. It's either going to work or it's not. But some of us, I don't know if some of you feel that way. When you get in a trade, the world, time around you goes, boom. What did I just do? Oh my God. And none of you will admit to that feeling. I know at least one of you are liars. So, is this something we can talk about, or would you rather just get right to the screens? I'd like to go 5 more minutes along these lines, if that's okay. There is a way forward. And the way forward involves 3 steps. And it's almost universal. Number 1, identify a method that aligns with your personality. That's number 1. Number 2, backtest your rules-based strategy across 300 to 400 instances historically. And then number 3, forward test in sim and then live using a predetermined money management plan that accounts for growth and drawdowns. How do I know when to increase my position size? How do I know when to decrease or go to sim with regards to my position size? And all of this is mechanical. There is no intuition. There is no going along as a free bird. There's no, I think I'll try this, I think I'll try that. You have to learn a mechanically rules-based trading system and learn to trust the probabilities of that system. You fall helplessly into the math of your model. And so one of the things that we've tried to evolve into over the years, sometimes it's very frustrating for some of you. Others of you are glad that we do it. We put multiple people in your rear view mirror. We give you access to Ron, whose charts look nothing like my charts. And it freaks a lot of you out. I get the mail. And we give you access to Rachel, whose charts are very clean and simple and basic. Give you access to Bob Swazerski over at Rapid Fire, whose charts look nothing like mine. And then you, of course, have access to me. And all of that is to present you with different ideas. We're throwing tennis balls against a Velcro wall. And eventually one of those balls usually sticks. And somebody says, I really liked when you did this. I really liked when he said that. This made a lot of sense to me. And some of you, it takes longer than others to find. But this is a critical step worth staying motionless, waiting for. Do you trade a caveman style system? Do you trade an inversion trade? Do you trade Ron's 60-minute trade? Do you trade a stoplight trade? Do you trade a rapid fire style trade? Do you trade a Hail Mary style trade? Do you trade a game on breakout style trade? Do you trade a pullback trade? Do you trade a daily cycle marker Orion day trade? Do you trade any one of a number of techniques that we teach? But when you figure it out, Nathan, ding, you have permission now to do this. And if your rules are correct, you should get an equity curve that kind of looks like that. And if you have this after 300 to 400 trades, ding, you now have permission to go here. But when you're in the mechanically conscious competence phase of your learning, this is the only path forward. There are no shortcuts through this. You have to cross through this to get to the unconscious competence phase. And Tracy, Nathan, I suspect when you guys first started trading, you had a phase like this where you just did the same things over and over. I'm going to trade an iron condor. Everywhere I see a setup, I'm going to trade an iron condor. I'm going to trade a butterfly options play based off of this book that I bought. And now you look at it and you're recalling all of those things and you're trading fluidly in the markets, but you're not following a very strict rule set, but you're still following a method. and you see little nuances that you didn't see when you first started learning. So for many of you, this is the critical part. What fits? What works well? What market? Here, let me blow this out because most of you are here. What market do I feel aligned with? Do you know what I mean when I say that? What market do I feel aligned with? Every market has its own personality. Every Forex pair has its own personality. That is to say, the way it moves, the speed at which it moves. And your personality could be the difference between watching bonds, the way it vibrates, Tracy, is a good way to describe it. Or in the case of bonds, it's like watching paint dry. And others of you like me, you like CL and NQ because these markets have ADHD. They move fast and they have a pace to it. And then there are markets that are sort of in between, like the E-mini S&P. It moves slower and deliberately. So that's a very important component in identifying a method that aligns with your personality. What market do I feel aligned with? You'll see I almost never look at a YM chart. Thought about that last night unconsciously. It just doesn't speak to me. I almost never look at a euro dollar chart, but I'll look at the dollar CAD more and more since George turned me on to it. I'm starting to love that Forex pair, or the Australian dollar. But the other pairs don't really appear to me because they move differently. And so it's acknowledging that there are differences. It's acknowledging that there are subtle nuances to each. And really being honest, having an honest conversation with yourself about, if I was trapped on a deserted island and I had to trade to get home and I could only pick one market, what market would I pick? What instrument would I focus on? What stock would I specialize in? Because the ones who are net profitable, the ones who are making money consistently will say, I don't trade more than one or two markets. And some of you, one customer, when I signed him up, Tracy, he had 4 workspaces and 12 to 20 charts on each workspace. He's struggling. True story. I wish you could see some of the crazy that I see. Okay. So once you establish what market do I feel aligned with, then it becomes a question of what method will I apply to that market? Will I trade in the direction of the trend? Will I trade counter trend? Search for highs and lows. Will I trade a support and resistance, or what I call horizontal movement? Will I trade bounces off of walls? And I'll tell you what I've said in the past, the ones that are generally making more money, and Chris Foster, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, most of the people are trading trend. They're trading in the direction of an overall market movement that they identify. Tracy? Yeah. And so you'll see a lot of the times I focus on trend signals, because it's almost impossible as a new trader who's consciously incompetent to trade highs and lows, to pick tops and bottoms, catch a falling knife. Okay. Those of you that know Colin, we talked about him in one of the Friday webinars. Colin trades very much a third pattern here, support and resistance. He uses 10-minute FPC lines with 10-minute time cycle markers. And he takes bounces off of those. And he makes a few $1,000s a week. But it took Colin 2 to 3 years with the software to get to that point. Some of you, it takes 2 to 3 months. And so it's really important to understand when you're having that honest conversation with yourself. Be honest about your journey and to be patient with yourself. Because this phase, George, this phase of learning can't be forced. It can't be rushed into and rushed out of. It is so personal that I can't almost define what happens inside that time. Yeah. But Tracy, you had what I define as a click moment. And I bet you remember the day that it happened where you went, oh, 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 for crying out loud. Really? Well, of course. Why didn't I? Oh, of course I'm going to go long here. Of course I'm going to get a call right here. Oh, okay, let's go. And some of you are listening to that and you're like, man, I wish. I wish. And I want to encourage some of you here today because trading companies will never admit to you what I'm teaching you right now. Every other vendor in the NinjaTrader ecosystem that I've worked with and met doesn't talk about this. And there's a very specific reason, George, Nathan, Earl. They don't want you to think, or they want to appeal rather to the part of you that wants instant gratification. Tell me what to do and I'll do it, and I want to make money. And what vendors, if they were honest with you, would say is that it's going to take some of you 2 to 3 years. It's going to take some of you 2 to 3 months. And you should be honest with yourself about your journey, and you should be patient with yourself because some of you will have a click moment sooner than others. And I want you to know that this middle part of the process, going from losing money to break even plus to consistently profitable, in my empirical experience, I may not be an expert trader. I may not be an expert tool builder. But one thing I have expertise in after 10 years of working with them is people. And what commonalities successful people shared and what commonalities unsuccessful people shared. I know the guy who I wrote that email to when we started, he's never going to be a successful trader. I know it. I would bet my mortgage on it. 5-to-1 odds against me. I would still bet the farm that this guy won't be a successful trader. And I've written 2-page emails to people. One guy, he's in Florida. His name is Charles Ronnie. You might have remembered a few weeks ago in a Friday webinar, I called the guy out. Ronnie had been watching us for a very long time. Ronnie had lost a lot of money. He lived debt-free on the beach in Florida. Had a home without a mortgage, an acre on the ocean. And the things that he said and the things that he did and the way that he behaved and the emails that he wrote and the follow-ups that he didn't have with me, they just all fit in a category of people that are never going to get there. You're here this morning. The odds of your success, in my opinion, empirically, increase in order of magnitude because you want to learn. But I need you to understand, when you are honest about your journey, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. I'm going to allow myself to learn at my pace, to pick up as I go along. I will be profitable. I will be successful. I will see this through. I know that it's possible. I'm going to surround myself with successful people. I'm going to surround myself with positive potentials. I'm going to shut off the negative self-talk. And it's going to happen when it's going to happen. Until then, I'm going to follow the process. I'm going to go through these steps. And then ultimately being patient with yourself. I am seeing things and maturing in a way with regards to trading that I never saw or felt, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. There has been a fundamental shift in my psyche. Many of you have written emails to me and noted as much. Hey, you're in the groove. You're seeing things that you've never seen before. It's a difference. What's up? What changed? That's 10 years of doing this every day for every week, every year. So be patient with yourself. The more pressure you put on yourself in the conscious competence phase, the longer this process takes. The less pressure you have, the more honest with yourself, the more patient with yourself you are, the faster, I believe, that click moment occurs. Okay, so let's stop here. That's enough. And I think I'm going to go back and just really break that out into a several part series. I want you to see, just real quick, where we're at in our last analysis on the E-mini S&P, using the techniques that I'm not going to get too far into today. But I want you to see the kinds of things that we were able to predict in terms of where the market was going. And some of you remember this, and you have access to the old recordings. If you want to go back, just check your email. Is Gig here today? Gig usually remembers the things that I said and did. The last time we looked at the ES and we were in a phase 4, we were over here. And the 50 to 75 of us did an analysis on the ES, and we figured out that it was minimally going here. I think I said 424 or 425. And then we had our outlier. We said that it was going to go possibly into the blue, and that the highest it would go would be up here at 24, 45, 49 area. And I have that black line up here at 24, 47. Then we did our resonant angle analysis, something Ron's going to teach about here in a couple hours, with an automated version of what I've been doing by hand. And we have these crazy lines. And I want you to see where we are relative to the E-mini S&P moving forwards. What box are we in right now? We're back in this rectangle down here. And there's tremendous resistance today above us at 24.32 quarter. I drew this orange line and I told people, hey, this is where we're going to hit our heads. And if we get up past that box, we'll go up and hit our heads here. But if we hit our heads there, we're going to come down. And we did. So in a few short hours, I want to save that analysis. And Ron will show you how he's going to do it automatically with a new tool called the Flux Resonant Angle Indicator. I would like to focus today more on the intraday stuff, the basic histogram stuff, because I think there's, based on the questions I've been asking, there's more value in that for some of you. Unless, and I'll ask this question, is there anybody who's in a longer term swing trade and they're needing some help with a daily bar analysis that they're in a trade for? Okay, sweet. Well, let's look at this. We'll go back to Flux 101 and we'll stick with histograms because that's what everybody knows. I think that's the common language here. And if you're looking at a longer time frame with the E-mini S&P, I want you to look at this chart right here. This is a 60-minute chart with a MACD filter and a power zone filter. MACD dots and power zone time cycle markers. The MACD is set to a 2-period fast, 10-period slow. So if you go to the indicators section, you'll see that the MACD is set to a 2-period fast and a 10-period slow. My power zone is set to a 60 MA for both the time cycle markers and the histograms. What can we say about the signals that filter combination has produced over the last couple days? Nathan, what can we say about the signals that filter combination has produced over the last couple days? Give yourself the freedom right now to know this is a safe place. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to correct you. I want you, though, to look at this chart the way that I look at this chart. I want to help you get through this conscious competence phase. When you look at this chart, what are some things we can say? I'm going to keep a list. Okay, so let's write down everything we know about this. Okay, Brent says 2 signals with the trend, which is up, were profitable. What else? Let's see if we can pull 10 pieces of information out of this chart. What else can we deduce from this chart, Brent? Earl? 2 signals with trends were losers. Okay, what else? Hey, you're supposed to be teaching. We're just supposed to be listening. Flattening moving average. I don't see a Canaveral, Jack. Actually, no, I don't see a Canaveral. Tracy says, all the down signals haven't been able to break through the trend line. Trend is intact. The 120 EMA was touched and rejected. What else do you see? Okay, lower highs. I want you to pretend that Goldman Sachs has two children, two sons. One son is in charge of buying, one in charge of selling. Which son does Mama Goldman like better? Looking at this chart. Does the selling son or the buying son get more accolades from Mama? How many of you just saw that when I said it? Go back and look at every red dot. Go back and look at every green dot. When given a chance, proportionately, who tends to move the market farther lately? Here's what I mean by that. When it was time for the market to go up, you had an anemic move here. You had an anemic move here. You had an anemic move here. Brent, they've all been around the same. But when it was time to sell, you had this move, you had this move, you had this move, and you had this move. The selling times have produced larger moves. How long has that been going on? Since right here. Before that, Nathan, we couldn't say that, right? Before that, we couldn't say that. The buying child was the favored son. And then something happened. Boom. Boom. Come on. Boom. Mom. Boom. All right. Okay. Is there anything else we can say about the market? By the way, this thing we're doing, you can do this on any time frame. You do it on a 5-minute chart. You do it on a 5-tick chart. How will we know when the consolidation is over? How will we know when the buying son is back in charge again? And this could be daughters. I don't want to be sexist. No sexism here. How do we know which sibling has regained control? Well, as of right now, here's something I want you to look at. And this is a real easy way to do it. Look at the height of the dot. And there'll be an indicator today that I'm going to show you after 12 o'clock that draws these lines automatically. And Brent, you'll notice when it's time to sell lately, do you see how price stays under the dot? Earl, when it's time to sell, price never goes near the dot. But when it's time to buy, it either comes right to the dot or moves past it. And we have an indicator called the trend reversal signal and the trend continuation signal that I'll be teaching you about here today. But I want you to see what's happened here. Ready? That's weak buying. This was weak buying. And this was weak buying. We'll know when the trend is about to resume when we start to see a vacuum of power. That is to say, when it's the seller's turn, and George, they drop the ball. That is to say, now we have a 1 bar window here. This bar is going to be a green dot when it closes in 47 minutes. But then 11 o'clock is another selling pressure signal. But if we started to see price above, this is just a very, very, very rudimentary way to analyze this market. But Nathan, it indicates a weakness. It indicates a vulnerability. It indicates a shift in the struggle between those two brothers. And I try to paint as many different word pictures as I can, because at one point you'll have a click moment where you go, oh, two brothers. Yeah, I got it. I got it, Mike. I got it now. I got it. Okay. So look at all the information we got from one chart with 12 dots on it, if there are that many. At 10 o'clock, there's going to be another green dot on the close of this candle. And Brent, what do we know about the green dots that we've seen? What do we know about the green dots that we've seen? Well, there's been one of two things. There has been, from the open of that candle, a push up. We'll go ahead and make those push-ups dark turquoise. That's how high it went from the open of that candle. It didn't go but one tick here. This is how high it went from the open of this candle. Let's say right there before it pulled back. And then Brent, last night in the Asian Euro session, it went at least that high. So I can take those 4 rectangles now and I can pull them over here. And what I start to see, Brent, is that 2 of those rectangles kind of line up with each other, don't they? Well, that's important. It's important because it gives me a sense of how far they're going to go in the open, that 10 to 11 o'clock phase. And right now that means 24.32 to 24.35. It's only $3. Okay. But it also, now I want you to look at it from the other direction. Ready? From the open of this candle, Brent, they came down this low before they went up. From the open of this candle yesterday, they came down this low before they went up. And then back here in the Asian session, they fell this low. Okay, and then over here, they came down this low. So now watch, ready? From the open of the candle, do we see any patterns that line up? Ron, this would be a great thing for the fall, for time warp, maybe. So Brent, look what we have here. Same chart, same information. And what do I have? Let's take out the outliers, shall we? Let's take out the biggest ones. And so we see from 10 to 11 o'clock, basically from now until 11 o'clock, there are two possibilities if they follow the patterns of the past. They could come as low as 24.30 before they come eventually all the way back up to 24.32 quarter. So if you're a dip buyer with the trend, if you buy dips in the direction of the trend, this becomes a hot area for you based off of what the buying child usually does when it's his turn. Does that make sense, Brent? Okay. If they go up, they have the potential, on average, to go as high as up here. By when? By 11 o'clock. It's not a lot of time. The next place that push might occur is 1 o'clock. So if we find ourselves as trend traders down here at this time, or down here at this time, or below there at this time, there's a pretty good chance it's going to come back all the way up to here and potentially here. Now, where's the line in the sand today? What's the one time of day we need to watch out for? Based off of our 10 plus things that we've discovered on a 60-minute chart. Where's the landmine, David? Justin, where's the landmine? What time could the crap hit the fan today? What's common about those last 3 times the banks had a chance to sell? They're all the same size. When's the next time we get one of those? Now and at 11 o'clock. So we have to survive the 11 o'clock candle, because even though the trend is up, the last 1, 2, 3 selling pressure moves have generally produced what? A $6 move down. If that's the case, Brent, we're sort of expecting the potential for this, aren't we? So yes, or a run up to the high of that range. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it in this candle right here. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it on this candle, this hour. Right? Because the 10 to 11 o'clock candle is when they unleash the hellfire again. When that selling kid goes, just watch what I'm going to do to you. Does that make sense? This is not a trending market right now. Okay, so that's 12 things we've figured out. There's one other thing on here, if you're up for it. There's a trend line right here. There's another one right there. And there's another one right here. There's an intermediate right here. And there's an intermediate right here on the ES. Nathan, does that give us any more information of value? If they were going to do a stop run, Parmajit, where would they go? It looks like up here. If we see it close above this line, the trend will resume. But as of right now, it looks like they want to come all the way up, ping that red line, and then drop down towards the moving average. That would be my guess right here, based on the way the time is presenting itself, and then a drop down. If you put those lines on the chart right here, you can sort of see where they've been following in that downtrend. Those of you that said lower lows, those are the lower lows that they're following. There are lines this way too. Stand by 1 second. There they are. And forgive me if I make some mistakes here, but I'm relatively new to this method. Gee, for somebody who said he wasn't going to do this, he ended up spending a lot of time doing it, didn't he, Brent? I'm doing that thing, George, where I do something and I don't tell people how I'm doing it. Can't stop myself. So I've basically defined all of the trends, all of the lines, the resonant angle lines, Brent, this way, and the way we just did it. So let me take, those blue arrows seem to suggest, Brent, what? That this line here is important. Based off of how far the red dots have pushed in the past. So let's move these blue arrows out of the way. And then I'm going to move the other stuff out of the way. And I want you to see what it looks like with just the resonant angles there. Because this is where I'm at in my journey, right here, what you're seeing. And again, if you can join us at the webinar, you will have an opportunity to have a tool that does this automatically. Okay. So Brent, these are the lines. We're about to hit the open, don't worry. The points of reaction for the ES are 24.31 3/4. Above us, 24.33 1/2. Below us, 24.31. 24.29.50. 24.47 1/2. I will state for the record that very important things happen at the crotch. So Brent, look here. You see where I'm drawing these triangles? And then vice versa. Ron, here's another idea for fall. Oops. Again, this is all from one 60-minute chart. That's all I got. So my guesstimate for today is here. Based off of what we know so far. First target would be this line at 31. The second target would be 29.25. But the big point of reversal today is right here. Meaning I would be most interested if we got down to this level, 27.25 to 27. And Carrie would say they are shearing the sheep because there's a stop run right here. How you guys feel about that analysis? If we are still in this crotch right here, if there's a candle that closes, and if we close around the 31.50 area, 31.25 area, then we'll break up and keep going. We'll come back to that chart, but that's what I think we're looking for right here. A drop down to 29.25 and a drop down to 27.25. All right, let's head over to the garage workspace. We've got some lines on the ES over here, don't we? Yeah, we do. So fortunately, those lines carried over for us on this chart. We've got the conventional histogram indicator here. CL, we had a pattern 4 lower low red dot right here. NQ, we had a Willy Wonka 2, a trend breakout right there at the open. The ES, we're headed up towards our big fat red line right here. I expect resistance when we hit 33.5. GC, we had a signal with trend right here. Now I'm going to keep track of a signal called the caveman signal, and I'm going to give everybody the videos that I'm using for these two setups. But as of right now, the dot was at 93.6. The stop is at 93.7. The entry is at the close of the candle. Once you know the risk, you know the reward. Break even is at 1292.0. So your stop on gold is now break even. And we're looking for a target of 91.6 ultimately, but anywhere in this 150 to 200% zone is okay to take profit. Target filled on gold. For 14 ticks. Okay, ES pushed up. The next selling pressure time is at 9:55. We are coming into a crotch right here. Let's watch and see what the market does with that. On CL, we had a pattern for lower low selling pressure signal, but we didn't know it until we got there, so we would have treated this like a Canaveral signal. We had a Canaveral signal with a brand new low right here. The Flux time cycle marker signal came in here inside of the Canaveral signal. The stop for a Canaveral is 2 ticks underneath the low of the brand new low. So we're still active in that. And the target is the moving average. So we're looking for CL now to come within a tick of 47.73, 47.72 for the Canaveral to be off the table. Prior to that, we had a signal at 9:06, did not get penetrated. We had a signal at 9:10 with our caveman rules, the dot, 1 tick above the dot, close of the dot. If we traded that caveman signal starting from 9 o'clock forward, it never hit our break even and we were just stopped out. So I'm going to log that because even though it lost, I have to follow the rules mechanically as someone seeking competence mechanically. Okay. If you took the Canaveral trade, if that's your personality type, you got within 1 tick of the MA, you're about to hit it. So anybody take the Canaveral setup, let me know. I would love to get Mike to program that too, Ron. I think that would be a cool signal. Some of you threatened to program a Canaveral. Ron said he took it. Good job, sir. Okay, on the NQ, we're just tracking the caveman stuff. We had a signal at 9:05. 9:05, we had a dot. 1 tick below the dot was here. The close of the dot candle was there. So we were looking for a target. And that target was +1 to be on the open. It came all the way up to our break even, and then it pulled all the way back to our break even +1. So that trade didn't turn into a loser, but it didn't give us much. on the winning side of the NQ. We have a stop out up here right now. It just took us out. The dot was at 75. The stop was at 50. A 9-tick loser on the NQ. Okay. Again, I'm just going to get in the practice of mechanically following a rule set. On gold right now, we have a green dot. If that candle closes above the moving average, we'll have a caveman crossover signal. The ES is up at that red dot. 955 is coming. Remember what usually happens at those intersections, those crotches. So if you were long in the ES, this is a place to look at tightening your stops or taking profit. GC has a crossover signal. It's a matrix crossover signal, so I can't take it. I would have to wait for a pullback, so I don't have anything to do on gold right now but sit on hands. Oh, yeah, you're right, Brent. I didn't have the signal, and it is a matrix. Sorry. Which means you pull back to the dot. I messed up. Your original stop was from here to here. So you're presently long. See, when the student becomes the master, that's when I know my job is done. So Brent, that's the current setup right now. You're long from 78.75, and it might still get stopped out, but at least you had a fighting chance. And your target is 82 and 83.25. We'll see if it hits it or pings it. Yep, so I'll go ahead and label that. So your stop is 76.25. Your entry is at 78.75. The target is at 82.25 for break even plus, and 83.25 for exit. If you traded the ES with a caveman style setup, Brent, your dot was here. Your stop was 1 tick below the dot. Your entry was at the close of the candle. And you were looking for a break-even condition at right here, 33.5. And so now your stop on the ES trade would be 1 tick above right here at 32. stop filled on the Canaveral setup, but at least I tracked it correctly. Thank you, Brent, for that. I wouldn't have got it. I wouldn't have tracked it right. So that's the biggest loss that we could take in the NQ right here. Sweet. Good job. Okay, so those of you that were listening when I said the selling pressure on the ES, those guys seem to have the bigger pushes that we would come up, trip out the stops, and drop down. This is about that level where I would expect that to happen. Are there any econs this morning that we didn't worry about? 10:30 is crude inventory report, but that's it. So if the selling brother was going to dump it, it's coming into this next bar at 9:55 that we have to watch. All the signals on this ES chart, by the way, are using one of the new indicators that I'm going to present to you today at 12 o'clock. This is the Flux multi-instrument analysis histogram. And we actually are putting crude futures signals on top of the E-mini S&P to get the results that we're achieving today. On gold, we're looking for a breach, a Willy Wonka 2 golden ticket. If it breaches this line, 1293.9 into 1293.4, we enter, looking for a 6 to 8 tick target in gold. So that would be 6 would be 5, 8 would be 7. The next signal coming in the NQ won't be here till 10:02. Try to keep my charts clean. I've found personally that if I have complicated, busy charts, it's harder for me to act on what I see. You'll also notice that I'm putting in these signals by hand over here where the histograms have bumps but no signals. We have a new indicator, a new optional module for those of you that want to have something print there automatically. It's not officially a signal, so I'm not going to draw the matrix entry on that. Okay, GC had a penetration, the first one, so our stop would be below the candle that touched it right here. And I'm looking for a 6-tick push. Okay, we got 5. Let's see if we get up and hit 6. We got a runner. We got a runner. There's that selling kid. That selling kid's got something to prove, doesn't he? All right, that's enough of that. I always play that in my head when the banks just run, when they sell off and go like that. I think it's funny. Some of you may not think it's funny. Gold, we have a matrix setup, Brent. We're looking for a pullback before 955 to 1293.7. If it pulls back that far, the stop in gold would be right here. Big stop. So matrix setup. This would be a Willy Wonka 2 in gold, which is a trend breakout, essentially setup. This is a caveman matrix setup right here. Man, look how far ES came all the way down and just finished where it started. Piece of trash. So this is obviously a hotline. Nothing to do but wait. Hola, Juan Antonio. Good morning, good morning. What's going on in the universe today? According to my sources, James Comey is testifying today. Is that today? Oh, hell. The latest must-watch event. Former FBI Director James Comey's testimony before the State Intelligence Committee has some D.C. bars and taverns opening their doors as early as 9 a.m. on Thursday, June 8th, that's tomorrow, to host viewing parties complete with food and drinks. As Comey faces questions regarding his discussions with President Donald Trump about the federal investigation into Russia's election meddling, watch partygoers can watch the drama unfold while tucking into an FBI-themed fair nursing Kofifi cocktails. Sean's Tavern plans to open its doors at 9:30 Thursday. For the viewing party, the establishment will feature an FBI breakfast special of French toast, bacon, and ice cream, as well as an FBI sandwich with fried chicken breast, bacon, and iceberg lettuce for $10 each. It also plans to feature a $5 Russian Stoli vodka flavored beverage. Well, there you go. Where have we gone as a country? China is preparing for a moon landing in space. Beijing is arming the man-made islands that they created from sand in the South China Sea. And you can't make this other story up. The guy who killed everybody in the UK married a lady in 2012. And there's a picture of her on their trip to Morocco, smiling in front of a cafe called the ISIS Cafe. That's kind of weird, right? Okay, ES is having a hard time with that red resistance line. If we scoot back over to our 60-minute chart, just kind of curious to see how that goes. You'll see where we are right there. In terms of crotches, there's something I didn't think I would say. There seems to be more support for the ES to go up right here than there was for it to go down up here. So Brent, when I look at this chart, I'm seeing that there has been support for the ES all along this line right here. Everybody see that? We're in the bottom crotch, not the upper crotch. So let's see what happens. Gold has a 30-minute signal in the direction of the trend, 9:30 into 10 o'clock. So this is a signal with trend, and this was a signal with trend. So if we follow what gold did when it was over here last night, we expect it to get up to 1295.6 potentially. Okay, Brent, we're above that line. ES is headed towards 2435. 2435 is the next line up. Yep, I messed up. We now have a breach. I got that wrong. And Brent, they are above the red dot for the first time. The trend has changed. Support now for the ES is now at 33.25. 33.25. Let's go back over to our futures workspace. Give a caveman entry on gold. So you would enter at the dot. Your stop is your original stop below you. And you're targeting gold right now is 94.8 for break even, 95.1 for an exit. CL has a no trade setup condition here. It closed above the moving average. It was a matrix signal, though, requiring the price to touch the green dot at 68, which it did not. We have a matrix entry also, again, pattern 5, higher high green dot in the NQ, which requires a pullback to the green dot. That risk has to be less than 10 ticks. It is not. It is 12, it's 13 ticks. So the most we could do would be 10, which would be 2.5. So our stop on that trade would be here if it pulled back that far. Again, we're just putting out these mechanical entries and setups. I got a picture of a terrorist staring at me, so I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah, Brent, I don't know how you would define it mechanically, but you could, sure. I don't know how you'd mechanically define volatility. So on the ES, we would be looking for a breakout of 6 to 8 ticks above this line. That would be a Willy Wonka 2 or a breakout with trend. 6 ticks would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 8 would be 2 more. Your stop would be 1 tick under the candle that touched it right there. 75. Well, Jack, let me represent or regurgitate that question back towards you. How do you stop or how do you combat someone like the terrorist? If you had to do something, because nothing is not an acceptable answer, right? Jack, if you were commissioned with protecting the citizens of America, what could you do as opposed to doing nothing? Right? I think that's a healthier question. Where's the middle ground? Where's the actions? Where is the action that everyone can agree on? That a majority of people would say that is reasonable and fair. Okay, so I listened and they told me where all the terrorists are coming from. All right, well, think about what you just said. Listen to the people that you say you're bad-mouthing. But those same people, Jack, those same people, according to Eugene, let people off the hook. They don't follow through. Yeah. So they investigate the person. They tell the president they were investigating the person. And then they drop the investigation. And then you say it's a bad thing that he badmouths the people who dropped the investigation against the people that killed us. It seems like a pretty toxic feedback loop, doesn't it? It seems like nobody wants to make the hard call. And when you do make the hard call, you get penalized. If I'm wrong, let me know. Yeah. Eugene's right. It seems like every time we find out about the person who did it, somebody knew about it and had done an investigation. Boston bombing, right? Same circumstances, right? Eugene, am I mistaken there? They knew who these guys were. They had been tracking them, and then they dropped it. CL, we have a matrix. We have a caveman entry with trend. Stop above at 75. Econ is coming in 21 minutes. Don't give me that bull. Okay, I won't. Sorry. GC is a couple ticks away from its break-even plus condition. CL is officially stopped out. -5. Whew. All right, break-even condition hit on GC. CL's gone into a consolidation range, basically from 77 to 68. It's in a 10-tick range right now. NQ, I'm waiting for a close below the moving average for a crossover signal. And on the ES, believe it or not, I'm still looking at shorts because I'm an idiot. And the counter trend part of my brain won't let it go, but at least I've defined the risk right here. I believe there's another line right there that they just put in place. GC still at the break-even condition, looking for a target of 95.1. Nothing to do on the NQ yet, nothing to do on the CL, but wait. I had a very lengthy discussion. That's right, CL report in 14.5 minutes. The world as we know it is transforming at a pace we've never witnessed in history. Our understanding of modern warfare, terrorism, technology, I don't know that we have an understanding of it anymore, a comprehension. Crossover signal on CL. Close of the candle is on the NQ rather, is at 73.50. Stop is one tick above the candle at 25. We're looking for a target of 73.25 and 70 for the NQ. Gold is still stuck in a 3-tick range. ES is starting to progressively move down back towards the blue line. We'll see if the NQ active caveman setup gives us anything to work with. Yeah, Eugene, those days are over. Okay, stop hit on the NQ. No follow through on the crossover. There are technologies available to people who want to do harm that have not been activated yet. For example, ISIS overseas has just started using consumer drones to fight against tanks and armored personnel carriers. Eugene, they're using toys to drop mortars on top of tanks. And so you start to wonder, how soon before somebody takes one of these, equips it with something not so friendly, programs it to fly the 4 miles away into Yankee Stadium or into a baseball game in Anaheim. And what if they did it at the same time all across the country? We have no idea if somebody was properly motivated, what they can do. I got into a debate with an anti-gun associate on Facebook about 2 years ago. And I remember the day that I said, if you make handguns illegal, you might as well make trucks and cars illegal, because you can drive a car into a crowd of people and kill as many people as you could with a gun. And I remember what they said. No one will ever do that. Nobody kills people with cars. I was like, wow, okay. And so I have a sick feeling, a very sick feeling, that we're going to witness something on par with what I just showed you. Because the human condition knows no depth boundaries. And if you can imagine it, somebody's probably working on it. Chris, how do you block the signal to something you don't know is coming? Do you know that the National Aviation Administration, the radar programs that we use for our jets that fly internationally across the world, are using technologies from 1960? And you want me to believe that people who are using computers that are running MS-DOS right now are going to somehow jam a GPS signal to a Class 3 consumer drone programmed to fly below radar, upwards of 4 or 5 miles away? Jack, I don't think it's a question of amping anything up. This has been going on for 20 years, my friend. People don't hate me because I said something about them. People hate me because of what I believe and where I live. You can't heal that. How do you heal that? There was a point in history, in my opinion, and I don't mean to offend, when the world could point a finger at evil and identify it and agree to eradicate it. You don't negotiate with it. When someone says, put all those people in a boxcar and drive that boxcar into this oven that I made, you don't negotiate with that. You don't speak nicely to it and wonder, with some therapy, we could get to the heart of the matter. You make that person disappear. They lose their right to breathe. And I wonder if there hasn't been a seismic shift in our understanding of evil. If at some point along the way we just stopped believing it existed, we got pretty comfortable, right? Well, that'll never happen again. One tick away from exit. Didn't mean to get all depressed on you there, but I humbly disagree with your assessment of the human condition. Some people just want to watch the world burn. Come on, gold. Get your keister up there. When you have a condition like this in gold and you're in this zone, it's okay to exit. If you're 1 or 2 ticks away from your target, I don't think you can judge yourself if you see this kind of condition where it's emotionally excruciating. Just get out. Take the money and run. I know there was a church in Germany, and the way historians tell the story about the church parishioners, once a day the trains would go through, and there was a track that ran alongside of the one church, and the parishioners described the moment when the train would pass the church with the people inside who were screaming, scraping, scratching their nails on the insides of the boxcars. The people inside of the church were instructed to sing louder to drown out the noises of the cars going by. I don't want to live in that world. I don't think any of us want to live in that world. That's a true story, by the way. It's not fake news. So there are no easy answers, but I think the stakes are pretty high. Target hit and pulled back 1 tick. How did we get on this stuff today? You brought it up. That's right, I did. Sorry. So all the way from here the one thing I haven't seen, well, no, I'm not even going to go down that road. So we're all flat on GC right now. We've had actually 3 winners in a row, even with all this craziness. So the mechanical rules help us circumnavigate through this junk. We're 3 minutes away from the econ. If gold comes up and breaks through this red dot, we're looking for a 6 to 8 tick condition. However, 1029 is coming on the close of this next candle. Gold looks like it's kind of in a choppy area here. But I'm just going to keep looking for the green signals, one at 1029, one at 1039. We should see the ES and the NQ break loose a little bit, although that 1013 signal was a good one. It did come up and hit my stop. We did have another crossover signal here. The candle crossed over and it closed below the moving average. If your trading plan allows you to take a second crossover signal, you would have had an opportunity here to break down and get out right there at 3 1/4. Next signal coming is at 1032. ES is steadily dropping down. Ricola. CL, if you had huevos of steel, you have an entry right here in the direction of the trend with a stop just above 77. Once you know the risk, you know the reward. Again, we're just mechanically fudging our way through this universe here. Crude report coming in. Let's just make sure that my clock is set correctly. Going to update it to the atomic clock. We have an answer here in 50 seconds for CL.